Check one.
Testing, testing.
Is it coming through there? Yeah. There's not coming through.
We got a blah week ahead, though, weather-wise.
A lot of rain.
Yucky.
Yeah, next 7 days.
Check the weather between.
Mhm.
You from this area?
Mhm. Yeah, born and raised in Texas City.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, yeah, we have mic.
You can hear us? Can you hear us right now, Besa? Okay. Okay, I'll be quiet. This hurricane season, make it a point to know your neighbor and to find out if they are properly prepared in the event a storm makes landfall or we are asked to evacuate. Here's 5 easy steps you can do today to keep our community safe. Save your neighbor's contact information into your phone. If a storm is approaching, simply reach out to them and check in. Make sure they have everything they need. Discuss evacuation plans. If your neighbor is elderly or non-mobile, do they have proper transportation in a time of need? And if they have medical devices, are they portable? Fill out a File of Life form together. It's an effective life-saving tool filled with vital information first responders can easily access in an emergency. Be sure your neighbor lists any medical conditions, allergies, and their emergency contact person's name and number. Register at mytcalerts.com. Register at mytcalerts.com to receive Texas City specific emergency alerts. Pack personal protective equipment. The COVID-19 pandemic has put many at risk, so be sure to take extra safety precautions and pack extra sanitizer and plenty of face masks for several days. Texas City. Be informed. Have a plan. Make a kit. Remember these 3 important steps to stay safe this hurricane season. Have a kit. Put together a disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid supplies, and copies of your critical information. Make sure to have enough supplies, food, and necessities to last at least 10 days. And don't forget your pets. Plan for them as well and make sure they stay comfortable and safe. Plan and prepare now so you can be safe during a storm. For more information, visit texascitytx.gov. My name's Darcy Valenzuela. Thank you so much for joining us today on Facebook Live. We're here in the Moore Memorial Public Library. This is one of the cool rooms that you can reserve later on in the summer. And I just want to say thank you so much to Dan Reilly for coming out. He's from the National Weather Service, and he is the warning coordination meteorologist. So thank you so much, Dan, for joining us.
Great to be here.
Okay, I got some questions.
Sure.
We'll just go ahead and kick it off. How active do you think the 2021 hurricane season is going to be?
Well, the latest forecast is for an active season above normal, so maybe 13 to 20 named storms. That includes tropical storms and hurricanes, and about 6 of those to be hurricanes. So above average. Now, we had 30 named storms last year, so maybe not as high as that, but above average. We don't really know if Texas will get a storm, though. We can't tell it before the season.
Hope not.
Yeah.
How long is the hurricane season? I think today it starts today, or
It starts today, and
Yeah.
it runs through the end of November. Most of our storms are in August and September, but we can get storms in June. And the latest hurricane we have ever had around here is October 15th.
oh, wow.
So if we can get beyond that point, we're usually doing pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. So who tracks the storms as they're coming in?
The National Hurricane Center out of Miami, they're monitoring things 24/7 throughout the hurricane season. And our job at the local weather office is to monitor storms that are approaching our area, and talking about impacts for Texas City in areas of southeast
Specifically.
Texas. Yeah.
And I know this week's not looking really nice as far as like the weather, rainy and nasty, but no hurricanes. But
Yeah, no hurricanes this
Ugly
week, but yeah, pretty rainy the next 7 days.
bleh, yuck. So can you tell me? I see it on the news all the time. What exactly is a spaghetti model?
Yeah, you see that on the news. These are all hurricane tracking models, and they all give a slightly different track of the center of the storm. And a lot of the TV stations will put all those on the map, and so it looks kind of like spaghetti, all those little
Yes.
lines on the map.
Yes. Who thinks of the storm names, and how can I get my name added to the
The storm names are put out by the World Meteorological Association,
Okay.
and they set those names out 6 years in advance.
Oh shoot. Okay.
But if a storm makes a big impact, it'll actually be retired. So
Oh.
maybe you can get your name in that way.
Yes.
We could submit your name up the chain and
Okay.
see what happens.
Okay. Let's make it happen.
But the names repeat every 7th year. Actually, my name is on there. Danny is on there. It's been on there since I was a kid, so it never really amounted to much.
And it alternates, right? Like, so one year it's a male name, and the next year it's a female name for like that certain letter. At least that's what I had heard.
Yeah, that's true. And then successive storms alternate too in a given year: male, female, male, female.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Guys, if you're tuning in right now, one of the chances you can win a $50 gift card from Amazon is if you like this video or if you comment and have a question of your own, and at a later time we'll read your questions. So please comment any questions that you have. Next question for you, Dan, is have you ever flown in the hurricane plane?
I haven't. Would love to do it, but I've got friends that are hurricane hunters, and that's their
Yes.
job, is to fly into the aircraft, make observations, take measurements in the airplane,
That's so
and
cool.
help track the storms. And one thing I want everybody to know is the Hurricane Hunter aircraft come to this area every 2 to 4 years, and with any luck, we'll have them in the area, probably out in Sugar Land next May.
Oh,
So you can come out, anyone can come out and view those aircraft
And
in
then check out the
person,
plane.
check out the plane, go inside, and talk to the hurricane hunters themselves. So it's a really fun event. Look for that next May.
If they asked you to fly in the plane, would you?
I think so. The turbulence and all
Yeah.
that, I think that I'd be okay with that.
I'd want to go. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. As you said, the hurricane season is going to be pretty active this year. What's something our viewers should do right now to get ready?
Right. The first thing to do is figure out how at risk you are to storm surge, flooding, high winds, flooding rains, and decide if you'll need to evacuate. A lot of Texas City is behind a levee, and we always say levees are really meant to protect things. And, it may be safest to evacuate, but your mayor is going to get the best information from the National Weather Service and offer advice if Texas City ever has to evacuate. They'll make that call.
Okay.
But also build a supply kit. If you do have to evacuate, figure out the route you would take. Where would you stay? Do you have family or friends inland that you could stay with for a few days while the storm comes and goes?
And are the evacuation routes on the National Weather Service or?
They are. We have a hurricane preparedness guide online on our website, and inside there you can see the evacuation zones and the evacuation routes.
Okay, that is really helpful. We did have a viewer comment. They wanted to know why a storm gets retired, the name gets retired.
Great question. Basically, that same group, the World Meteorological Association, or organization actually, they get together and they debate the different storms and whether they should be retired or not. And sometimes they can argue about it. But basically, they come up with a consensus view. Well, that storm did have a big impact, like a Laura or an Ike.
Yes.
And then they'll say, okay, no more of that name. And then they come out and propose a new name with that letter.
That is really neat. Can you explain the hurricane categories and
Sure.
why they're named that?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Yeah, the scale is called the Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale. It goes from 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest wind and 5 is the highest. And 1 is still really strong. We're talking about winds over 74 miles per hour and higher gusts. One thing we ran into with Ike, though, is people were just hearing that number and not reacting like they should, because it only tells you about the wind hazard. Really, Ike was like a real big 2, but it created surge more like a 4. So we just want everyone to understand, to listen to the details of the forecast. Not only the category, but how high is the surge going to be, and what about how much rainfall will you get?
Okay. Another viewer had asked, should our windows at the home be cracked?
Yeah, I know where that idea comes from.
Okay.
It used to be, if there's a tornado coming, people used to think, well, I'll crack my window open and equalize pressure so the
Okay.
home doesn't explode. But really, that's not a good idea. All the windows, by opening them, all you're doing is letting those high winds in the house.
Into the house.
So yeah, you don't want to be doing that.
Yikes. So I know we tell our residents, keep an eye on our Facebook pages and things like that. What would you say to somebody who maybe isn't social media savvy, and how can they get their information about the weather?
Well, we really push our website to weather.gov/Houston, and you can get everything there. But if they're not on the computer or social media at all, I recommend checking in with the newscast every day. The local news, we work with them really closely, and they're usually right on the same sheet of music as us with one common message. So that would be another way. If you're not on the computer at all, just check in with the news maybe once a day.
Yes. Oh, and I do want to give a shout out to our own City of Texas City alerts. If you go to mytcalerts.com, you can sign in and you can get RTC specific alerts for weather, disasters, anything of that nature.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because I know we work close with Texas City, and they relay a lot of great weather information that way too.
Okay, can you tell me what a storm surge is and why is it so deadly?
Great question. Storm surge is basically the winds of the storm pushing water onto land. And it is the water hazards that are the most deadly, the flooding from rains and from the storm surge pushing onto land. And so those that have been here for a long time maybe remember Carla. Carla occurred and flooded Texas City big time, even that was before the levee was built. So a lot of people may think, well, the levee protects us from storm surge, and it does to some extent, but you don't want to necessarily rely on that. So, but that's what storm surge is basically the storm pushing that seawater onto land.
Okay. Something I learned being a part of the communications team here with the City of Texas City is I didn't realize how often, let's say a hurricane is coming in, and how often the phone calls take place. It's like an hourly basis type situation. Can you talk some more about that and who you reach out to?
Sure. Basically, there's an update every 6 hours from the National Hurricane Center, and as soon as we get that information, we translate it to the local area. So we'll define local impacts on Southeast Texas. We'll brief the emergency managers, your mayor, the county judges, and we'll put that briefing online so you can hear the same thing they're hearing. So And then we'll update that again 6 hours later.
Yeah, and it comes with like slides and everything, which I found extremely helpful.
Yeah, it comes with slides, and we try to put the key points up front. So if you don't want to listen to the whole 10-minute presentation, you get the information up front. But if you want to get the details, you can see it on our YouTube site, NWS Houston.
Okay, so Dan, anybody who drives anywhere around here knows that there's construction on almost every roadway out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me if they have to do an evacuation? Do you know if that's going to affect our leaving in time? Do y'all plan for that?
At the Weather Service, not directly, but
No.
we're at meetings though with TxDOT, with emergency managers all across the region, and everyone's a bit concerned about that because there is quite a bit of construction on many of the main routes, not only in this area but further out. So that is certainly a concern. And for those that remember Rita and how bad the evacuation was there, if we do face a storm like that, it may make sense to leave early just to be safe.
Okay, good idea. We have a viewer who asked, is the eye of the hurricane deadly?
Great question. The eye, actually, in the eye itself, the winds are calm, but right around the center of the eye is a ring, kind of a donut there. That's where the absolute highest winds are. So, for example, with Ike, the eye came right over Texas City. And I was here at the time, and you had the really, really strong winds around the center in that ring around the eye, and then the winds went calm.
It's just calm.
And then from the other side, they came from a different direction really high. So the eye itself is calm, but right around the eye is the most dangerous.
That's crazy. Thank you so much. I want to give a shout out. You can't see them off camera, but Diego and Derek are here, and they're just our camera operators, and they're wonderful. So thank you to them. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment them, and I'll reach out to Dan, and we can try and answer as quickly as we can. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Dan,
Sure.
for your time. And
You're welcome.
is there anything else you wanted to say before we close?
Just get ready. The other thing I would add is look at your insurance coverage too. A lot of people don't have flood insurance, and they need that for flooding rainfall. And some people learn the hard way. So look into flood insurance.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right.